Hello everyone, my name is Chiranjit Mishra and today I'm going to present the news today items for the date June 22nd. There are 4 main news, 9 quick updates and 1 place in the news which is Bolivia. So as is customary, let's go through the news headlines first, then we'll start discussing each news item. The first main news is about India's space odyssey or India's, you can say, full throttle attempt to become one of the global leaders when it comes to space. Second, biodiversity and access and benefit sharing, how India has fared. The third main news is about India's maritime strength. 3 INS ships have been launched and what are their importance. The fourth main news is about IITs and ancient knowledge traditions, and this piece of news stems from a recent speech given by the Honorable Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Now let's quickly go through the quick updates titles. First is Mandus Khurasani Imli. So this is a baobab tree which is of African origin but found in India in Madhya Pradesh, and it has earned GI tag. Next it is biochar. Biochar is a better alternative than stubble burning because the residue can be used to improve soil fertility. Next, new draft SATCOM rules. That means satellite internet providers like Starlink and OneWeb will have to follow certain rules, very strict rules set by the Department of Telecommunications. Next, deuterated compounds, plant and sodium cell. Deuterated, not deuterated. Deuterated means replacing hydrogen atom with deuterium atom, which is similar to or an isotope of hydrogen atom, but it has an extra neutron, which normally hydrogen atoms do not have. Next is Nirbhay Chetna. So this is related to spreading awareness about women's safety. Next, invisible drones. Next, it's Nathula Pass and Kailash Mansarovar. Next, Kalamkari. And the last quick update is about AI agent loops, which is soon going to replace the normal or traditional prompt engineering. And as I had said in the beginning, the place in the news today is Bolivia, a South American country, a landlocked country. So let's start with the first main news, which is India as global space power or India's odyssey, because India has achieved a lot when it comes to space technology research, and India's innovation is world famous, especially after the Mars orbiter mission and the Chandrayaan 3 mission, which were praised throughout the world by the leading space research centers and agencies. Okay, and India also is collaborating with global space agencies like NASA. For example, NISAR is an example, which is going to observe natural phenomena. So now it's very important from the point of view of GS paper 3, and the right way to think about this topic as to why we're going to cover it is from the point of view of mains. We'll also discuss one previous year question from the prelims, especially in this year only it was asked. But let's cover this topic assuming that this is a mains oriented, based on mains oriented question. In GS paper 3, what if somebody asks you this question? Okay. India is emerging as a force to reckon with in the field of space research and development. Elucidate and critically examine. I hope you know how to differentiate between the 2 keywords. Elucidate means you have to support it by citing examples. Critical examine means you have to show both the sides and you can say what more can be done. Okay, critical, you have to be critical, not just validating points. So of course both the keywords, both the tail words are easily valid. Let's assume the question is elucidate. Okay, India is emerging as a force to reckon with in the field of space research and development. How? We have to cite examples. The first one is, of course, how much India is spending every year, and the amount is spending, although it is nowhere close to how much the US and China are spending in terms of space research. But ISRO is doing a lot. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning, India's approach to space science is very economical. It's called Jugadu way. जुगाड़ू समझते हैं ना, कम पैसे में you have to do a lot. So it's a very smart way to achieve or attain something. Okay, so yes, 12 years of India's space sector. As you know, this present government completed 12 years. It came into power in 2014 and 12 years have passed. So that is why we are going to take a brief look, a cursory look at what India has done in this particular sector. So the most important thing is India's expenditure, which is close to $8 billion in 2023. but it is going to rise to nearly $44 billion in 2024. And in the next 15 years, it's going to touch $100 billion. What, the pen is really very smooth, the board is really working well, okay? So 100 billion, that means look at the growth rate of India's space sector. Currently it is slightly higher than 8 billion because now 3 years have passed. But if you take a look at how much US is spending, it's close to $80 billion as per some reports. China is spending nearly 20 billion. Okay, so India is close, but India needs to get closer. But as I said, using limited resources and money, India has done really well. So limited resources, this thing you always have to keep in mind. Okay. Chandrayaan-3, India became the first country to place a rover in the moon's south pole. How to elucidate? Remember that question. Then Mars Orbiter mission 2013 में launch हुआ. It reached orbit in 2014. It is orbiting Mars and studying its property. Okay. Gaganyaan mission, which is going to happen in 2-3 years. 2020 it is the target year. Okay. And we have already done some experiment related to, because it's going to be a manned mission. India is going to send for the first time human beings to space. India plans to establish the Bharatiya Antariksh Station under Space Vision 2047. So something similar to International Space Station. India's space economy is expected to grow significantly in the coming decades. As I said, in the next 15 years it will reach 100 billion. Why? Because private player participation has also increased. ISRO is promoting itself. ISRO has 2 more branches. Okay, the commercial branches or arms of ISRO. Earlier only Antariksh was there. Antariksh. Don't pronounce it as Antariksh, it's Antariksh. Antariksh means space. Okay. Now we have IN-SPACe and NSIL. IN-SPACe and NSIL. Okay. So next, India Space Policy 2023, private players के लिए open हो गया. We have so many launch vehicles, PSLV, GSLV, okay, and we are also working on cryogenic engines, okay. International collaboration, for example, NISAR mission, focus on this, NISAR, which is a collaboration of ISRO and NASA. That means NASA believes in the potential and capability of ISRO. About ISRO, these are factual questions related to prelims. Established in 1969 by Vikram Sarabhai. Okay, comes under Department of Space, which is overseen by Honorable Prime Minister of India. There is no particular ministry attached to space. It directly comes under the Prime Minister's overseeing. And we have many commercial arms like Antariksh, IN-SPACe and NSIL. This question came in 2026 prelims. Okay. 2026 prelims. So, consider the following statements with regard to the involvement of private entities in India's space program. The Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center IN-SPACe, which came into being in 2020 during your COVID-19, is an autonomous agency formed to facilitate participation of private entities. Well, this statement is correct. Agnikul Cosmos launched the world's first satellite using 3D printed rocket engine. This statement is also correct, but very difficult. This question was difficult, not an easy question. Okay. The third statement, Skyroot Aerospace has developed liquid fuel for GSLV. See, Skyroot Aerospace is a private company. It has its own rocket and space mission and it has nothing to do with GSLV. This statement is wrong. That is why option C is the correct answer. Now let me tell you, this is a very factual and tough question. Okay. But now because such questions are being asked, so don't just try to memorize what India's public sector company, ISRO, or public center or government backed research center is doing. Also try to go through the facts related to private players, what they are doing in India's space sector, their contribution. Okay. Next, India's maritime sector for security, GS paper 3. Okay. Because India has launched 3 INS, Indian naval ships, and what are their contribution and why do we need to invest so much in boosting India's maritime sector. It's very obvious. Earlier we used to think that we still have a long coastline, no doubt. Earlier we used to think that India's coastline is close to 7,500 kilometers. But after new satellite images, we got to know that it's close to 11,098 kilometers. So look at the increase. In many NCERT and old books, you will see this figure. Plus, please revise it, get it revised. As per new government data, it is 11,098 kilometers. Look at the length of India's coastline. We have such a long coastline and we have hostile countries, okay, to deal with. Pakistan. And of course, China, we have some bitter relations also. And then piracy and other concerns in that part of Indian Ocean which is close to Africa. And of course, there are certain key choke points which are, of course, Strait of Hormuz and Strait of Malacca. That is why India needs to be more cautious. There are so many stakes, and India is the biggest nation in that region. Okay, so many points, so many reasons to be cautious and safe. So why not to boost our maritime sector? Okay, that is what the news is all about. Recent context: 3 naval platforms commissioned. INS Dunagiri, which is just like an Indian warrior at sea. It can do many things. Okay, it is actually multi-capable. Multi-capable. 5th project 17 stealth means it cannot be detected. It cannot be detected. Stealth. It can also deal with submarines. Designed for distant operations, it can operate away from the coast. Now see, when you are far away from the coast, the danger is even more intense. So this is India's coastline, okay? And a ship is here, and a ship is here. This is A, this is B, this is C. Which is more safe of the 3 ships? Of course A, the closest to the coastline, because resources and manpower can be immediately deployed for the safety of ship A. Okay, Indian Coast Guard ho, Indian Navy ho. Then it's B, because it's slightly far away from A. But look at C. It's like working in an isolated manner, far away from the Indian coast. But now we have nothing to fear because we have INS Dunagiri. It is self-sufficient. Okay, it can fight the enemies and it will remain hidden from the radars because it has stealth systems. Okay, INS Sanshodhak, this is actually a surveying vessel. It is involved in bathymetry and hydrography, like ocean floor measurements and everything. Again, that is also another way to make it safe for the Indian Navy, like the ships. Okay, this is going to be a research-oriented INS ship. INS Agre, this one is anti-submarine. That means it can easily detect the movement of underwater moving, ships or any other vessels. It will send some sonar, sound navigation, and on the basis of that and other advanced systems, it will be able to detect if submarines are there or not. So in a way, you can say Dunagiri and Agre are like warships. They can destroy enemy ships. But Sanshodhak is more research oriented. Okay, and importance, as I said, long coastline. क्यों चाहिए इतना हमको रिसर्च करना? दूसरा, 95% of the trade by volume and 70% by value goes through ship. यहाँ से जाता है, even from one coast to other port. Okay. National security, of course, as there are 2 important choke points, and regional security. Fear and threat from Pakistan. Next, IITs and Indian knowledge systems. I don't know how to link both the things, but this is based on a speech given by the Lok Sabha speaker, ki how IITs, which were established after independence, they're carrying forward the ancient Indian knowledge systems, because we have a very rich and glorifying heritage when it comes to researches in science and technology. Okay, SNT, starting from the ancient times. Okay, it's needless to discuss the contributions of the great personalities like Aryabhat, Varamitra, okay, Brahmagupta, okay, and Bhaskaracharya. There are two Bhaskaracharyas, okay, 1 and 2. So their contribution to astronomy, mathematics, medicine, Charak and Shushruth. Okay, so these traditions have been continuing. Of course, they're continuing, but we have adopted modern practices and modern approaches. Okay, and ancient universities like Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, they're world famous. That time, scholars from different parts of the world, they used to flock such universities. They carried out their research, okay, and documentation, and they were also patronized by kings of that era, starting with Takshashila. Takshashila is located in modern day close to Pakistan, Afghanistan, northwest frontier province, part of Gandhar, even close to Afghanistan. Then Nalanda and Vikramshila, both in Bihar. Nalanda was established by Kumargupta of Gupta, Vikramshila by Dharmapal of Pala dynasty. We'll discuss that. It's maybe my handwriting is not readable. And Takshashila was not set up by any particular king because it predates even the Mahajanapat times. Okay, so without wasting time, let's take a quick look. IIT's Excellence in Science and Technology, autonomous premier technical institutions. The first IIT was established in 1951 and the foundation stone was set up by Pandit Nehru. Okay, Pandit Nehru. And then we had 6 more IITs in the shape of IIT Delhi, Bombay. They're still known by their old names. IIT Bombay, it's not IIT Mumbai. IIT Madras, although it is located in Chennai. Then you had Roorkee, Kanpur, Guwahati. Roorkee was actually the last of the youngest of all the 7 IITs. And then now we have currently 23 IITs and so many NITs. So these are premier institutions and they are autonomous institutions and they were enacted by the acts of parliament. They have full freedom to set their own curriculum, carry out research and impart education. Got it? So ancient universities are connected. So of course ancient to बहुत पुराना था और ये अभी हुआ. So if a question is asked, you can link that it is this Indian spirit for scientific inquiry. Indian spirit or the spirit of India's scientific inquiry to know more, quest for knowledge. These are good terms you can use. Or you can look for your own alternatives if everyone is going to use the same phrases, okay, to get those bonus marks. So ancient time में क्या क्या होता है? I said mathematics में you had Bhaskaracharya, medicine and surgery, king of surgery, or you know it's called the god of surgery is called Sushruth, and Charak was the father of Indian medicine. And Sushruth was called father of Indian surgery. Then physics, of course, astronomy, Aryabhat, mathematics, metallurgy. So Indian steel was world famous. That was used by Tipu Sultan. Even before that, the mysterious Mehrauli iron pillar, which is not yet rusted, close to your Qutub Minar, now placed in front of Qutub Minar. Okay, so that shows how advanced India's ancient knowledge systems were. And what are the initiatives taken to promote or further education systems here in India? Of course, the National Education Policy 2020, sometimes called New Education Policy, but it's national. It has set up a entirely new education structure. Earlier it used to be 10 plus sorry, 10 plus 2 plus 3 system was replaced by 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Okay, the most important one. Okay, then dedicated Indian knowledge systems in IITs to know about ancient research systems. Then Anusandhan National Research Foundation launched. Universities are going to collaborate to conduct researches on frontier technologies. The National Quantum Mission, which provides the guideline to conduct research in quantum computing and quantum science. And India AI mission, the most recent one. Okay, we also need to create our own compute infrastructure. Atal Innovation Mission, which supports innovation. Atal Tinkering Labs are there. I hope you all know. Atal Tinkering Labs, where you can test your prototypes, deploy your models before you can commercialize them. Okay. The last main news is about access and benefit sharing, ABS. As per Nagoya Protocol, India has its own National Biodiversity Act 2002. So this framework says that if you want to use traditional resources, knowledge resources, for example, if you want to use plant-based medicines or some animal-derived products, and if you want to commercialize those products, then you should not be the sole beneficiary. The commercial companies should not be the sole beneficiary. Who else should be the beneficiary? Those tribes or people, villages who have protected the ancient medicines and knowledge systems, because you are commercializing their knowledge. So they also need to get money. For example, if I am going to use some Ayurvedic product, I have discovered a plant species X, and X, using X, I created a product which is good for somebody's skin or hair or everything. It's called, say, AX, the name of the product, derived from product X. And I run a company, it's a private company. I make a lot of money, say 100 crore. But I had no idea about the medicinal value of plant X. There was a tribe which is called, say, ABC tribe. It had the knowledge of using X for hair growth and skin glow. I commercialized their knowledge. As per the Nagoya Protocol, under Convention of Biological Diversity, whatever money I earn, a part of it should be shared with this traditional community ABC. Okay, otherwise they'll feel cheated. Otherwise, I am exploiting their knowledge without sharing the amount that I earned. I owe them something. Okay. Now, as per Nagoya Protocol, India has Biological Diversity Act. (2002). And as per this act, there is a body called National Biodiversity Authority, NBA. It sets the rules and regulations and all the price sharing mechanisms कि कितना पैसा आपको देना है tribes को. National Biodiversity Authority at the central level, and at the state level we have SBAs, State Biodiversity Authority. Okay, and then at the third tier, grassroots level, we have biodiversity management committees, NBA, SBA, and BMCs. Remember? Okay. 266 plus crore mobilized since 2008. This amount has been mobilized. That means companies have given this much amount of money, of which 145 crore has been disbursed to beneficiaries, all the tribes and villages. The money doesn't go to a single person, but a group of people, maybe the entire tribe. Everything is set by the National Biodiversity Authority. NBA sets everything. Benefited 10,500 plus BMCs and farmers. Okay, because companies, farmers, tribes, anybody supported biodiversity conservation initiatives. Okay, also you have to respect nature. That doesn't mean with the agreement of tribes you can exploit or you can just make this species disappear by extracting everything. Okay, it has to be done in a sustainable manner. Because ultimately, Nagoya Protocol comes under Convention of Biological Diversity. Biological diversity has to be conserved, protected. It should not be depleted at an unprecedented level. Red sandal's highest ABS contributor, the famous species. The wood is very expensive. Seed sector second largest contributor. Okay, all types of knowledge, plants, seeds, okay, or any proper methodology, practice, everything is protected. What is ABS? Access to genetic resources framework. Okay, because you are going to use genetic resources, plants, seeds, so that means the benefits have to be shared. Benefits shared between users and providers. Users are companies, providers are the ancient people with ancient knowledge, not ancient people, I'm sorry. Example of benefit sharing. So what happened? What this X thing was a self-created example. I'll cite a true example. What happened? Kani tribe in Kerala, they had the knowledge of using Arogya plant, and a company created a medicine called Jiva using this knowledge of the Kani tribe. So they gave Kani tribe money. Global framework kya hai? CBD, governed by Nagoya Protocol, and India has this thing. Okay, so that's all about this news. All you need to memorize is the figure. 250 plus crore we have obtained and 145 has been disbursed. Okay, so that will show that India is moving in the right direction. We have strictly followed the framework set by Nagoya Protocol. That's it. The place in the news today is Bolivia. Okay, South American country, and it was in the news because of the ongoing protests, and this government has declared emergency. Okay, that is not our focus. Our focus is the geographical aspect. Bolivia is a South American landlocked country surrounded by these countries, as you can see, and it is very rich in lithium, a part of the ABC triangle of lithium. Okay, ABC triangle ka part hai. So this is Bolivia surrounded by Brazil, Peru, Chile or Chile, Argentina, Paraguay. 5 countries. Okay, 5 countries. And ABC mein part hota is Argentina, B for Bolivia. Bolivia, which contains a lot of lithium. India is also focusing on this region to get access to lithium resources. It's landlocked, so that's why although very close to sea, but no direct contact. And physical plateau, of course, Andes Mountains, the chain which goes through Chile, it is a part of that, and Altiplano Plateau. You need to remember the names. Quick updates. Mando's baobab tree, which is very much like imli or tamarind, it has received GI tag. Mandu is in Madhya Pradesh, but this baobab or Khorasani imli, as you can see, Khorasan, it came from Khorasan. That means foreign traders, they brought it to India. It is not a native species. It is not a native, not native, brought from Africa by traders like Arab traders or Afghani traders. But still it is being cultivated or grown, or it randomly grows in Mandu region of Madhya Pradesh. That is why it received GI tag. And as you can see, the trees are very weird looking trees, like this. Big trunks and then like this. You can see many trees in Africa also, in many animated movies. Okay, and the trunks are so thick they can store a large amount of water. So it's a good source of water in dry regions also. The tag protects its unique regional identity, and sometimes the fruits are sold by Bhil tribes. They make a lot of money. Okay, that's it. Biochar is something, for example, if you all know about stubble burning. Stubble means the remaining part of the crop, whatever remains attached to the soil, or any other such matter. For example, straws, wheat straws or paddy straws. Okay, if you burn them, you use oxygen to burn them, and the final product is something different. Okay, instead of burning them, you can use the process of pyrolysis. That means heating anything in the absence of oxygen, it won't burn and there won't be any pollution. This material or product of pyrolysis would be biochar, which is good for soil. It improves its fertility and also increases crop productivity. So this can be an alternative. The farmers can be sensitized about the intensity of air pollution in India. Instead of burning the stubble, they can use or go for pyrolysis. Biochar would be produced, it will remain in the soil and improve its productivity. Okay. Next, SATCOMs. SATCOMs are satellite communication technologies. So now rules are strict because SATCOMs, you know, Starlink, Elon Musk's own project. Now, how do we get internet? We get internet through fibers, optical fibers, or very fine copper wires. Mostly optical fibers. So underground fibers are gone, and then you have mobile towers, radio waves, and then you have optical fibers or radio waves, then you get internet. And at your home you have routers, Wi-Fi, and through radio waves. Now using SATCOMs, you will have constellation of satellites which will be in space, low Earth orbit satellites, and there will be ground stations. There will be ground stations from which you will get signals. No wires, nothing. So this new technology is coming, which is good in a way, because in remote areas where you cannot lay wires, you can use SATCOMs. But SATCOM companies are foreign companies. So there is this fear that foreign companies may steal data, because India strongly believes and vouches for data sovereignty and data security. That is why there will be two levels of license. First is before the spectrum is shared, then also after the spectrum is shared. Spectrum is that part of the wavelength band which is used by companies to transmit signals. Because you need one more license, and there are guidelines, because just after getting spectrum or before applying for spectrum, you get a license. Then you can use the spectrum in your own good way. That may compromise India's data security or data sovereignty. Okay, that is why terminal charges may range from 30,000 to 50 lakhs annual fee. Okay, public satellite services need government approval, because public satellite means there is a lot of chance that government data can also be compromised. Deuterated compounds and prototype sodium cell. These are two new technologies recently inaugurated, and both have one aim: to improve energy efficiency and to make India less import dependent. Sodium prototype cell is going to be used as an alternative to lithium. Because lithium and sodium is Na, and lithium is Li. Lithium comes above Na on the periodic table, and they both belong to the same group. Sodium के नीचे आता है potassium, potassium के नीचे आता है rubidium. It's called group 1 or the group of alkali metals. If not lithium, then we have sodium. Sodium is available in plenty. But sodium is not as energy efficient as lithium. Then why are we going for sodium? Because India doesn't have lithium resources. We have to rely upon foreign countries. As I mentioned, Bolivia. Currently we are importing from China. Okay. Supply chain disruption can happen. Okay. That is why let's create sodium based technologies which are, although energy efficient, less energy efficient than lithium, but still they can be what? Because from ocean water you can get sodium chloride, NaCl, and you can separate sodium ions from chloride ions, and you can get the metal by reduction. Deuterated compounds on the other hand are those compounds in which hydrogen H is replaced by D. D is also a type of hydrogen. The only difference is that it has one proton and one neutron. Hydrogen has no neutron, only one proton. And heavy water is used as a chemical marker. But in this case, it's going to be used in the nuclear reactors for its moderating properties. Okay, so that is why these two were tested. Sodium batteries can reduce dependence on lithium, supports indigenous technology development, strengthens advanced material and energy transport research. ठीक है, research में क्या होता है, sometimes in water you see H2O, and if you remove the hydrogen and use D2, you can see where the water particle is moving that you want to track, because out of 100 molecules of water, let's say, if you replace 10 with D, then there will be 10 100 water molecules are there, and you replace 90 with, you keep 90 H2O and 10 D2O. Using these 10 D2O molecules, you can track the movement in chemical reactions and you'll get new insights. Okay. Nirbhaya Chetna, this is implemented under Nirbhaya Fund after the mishap in 2012, what happened to that girl. Okay. So, which is unfortunate and very brutal and monstrous. So since then, the government of India is maintaining Nirbhaya Fund to use, and the fund is used for women's safety schemes and other measures. So first time Nirbhaya Chetna has been initiated, which targets over 17.5 lakh male elected representatives at the grassroots level, Panchayati Raj institutions, because we need to sensitize men about women's safety. Women's safety is at the hands of men of the society also. Okay. Because women are safe because of some unscrupulous men. So that is why sensitizing elected male representatives will go a long way, because if you sensitize them, they can sensitize the people of their area and zones. Focuses on women's safety and gender equality, uses Panchayati Raj institutions as key platforms, master trainers will conduct sensitization programs, and representatives have been drawn from 6 states. Like Maharashtra, Odisha, Himachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, okay, and 2 more states. Fiber optics, invisible drones. Invisible drones are not actually invisible, they're invisible because electronic systems cannot detect them. Normally, how do we operate drones? By sending signals, okay, radio waves. And because this follows an electronic system, the radio waves can be easily interfered with. They can be jammed also, the signals can be jammed. If I am using a drone and my enemy sees me using the drone, it can manipulate the movement of my drone by blocking electronic signals, radio signals. Okay, it can easily hack the system also. Okay, but optical drones or fiber optic drones are mechanically controlled drones. There is a link between the controller. Where is invisible thread? Almost invisible to the naked eye, and here you have the drone. Now when you use fiber optics, the signals cannot be manipulated, and this is good and bad at the same time. If it is in enemy's hand, then you cannot detect enemy drones, and it is used in Europe, especially Russia-Ukraine war also. Resistant to electronic jamming, these fiber optics drones, because they don't follow the normal conventional electronic systems. Effective in electronic warfare environments. If there is a possibility of jamming, you can use fiber optic drones. Okay, relatively inexpensive and easy to deploy. See, that is why if it falls into wrong hands, then there is a chance of destruction. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, as you know, Kailash Mansarovar is situated in Tibet, and there are 2 ways, through Sikkim and through Uttarakhand. Okay, first batch crossed into China via Nathula Pass, and pilgrimage leads to Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar, which has historical importance, and the summit is very difficult to summit Mount Kailash. Okay, many people have tried, and for a period it was also banned. Sacred to multiple religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Nathula and Lipulekh are designated routes. Lipulekh through Uttarakhand and Nathula through Nepal, and okay, and immigration facilities have been established because this is a trans-country travel, unlike your Badrinath or Kedarnath, okay, which are situated in India. Here you have to cross border, you have to go to Tibet or in China, which is situated in China. The last piece of news is, not the last, second last, gifts and heritage. So here the theme is that Honorable Prime Minister of this country, whenever he visits abroad, he gifts the elected heads, the presidents and prime ministers, those Indian goods which are very much important from the point of view of our heritage. For example, Kalamkari painting or Jamdani sadi, many GI tag products. Okay, so this is important for India's soft diplomacy, soft or cultural diplomacy. In a way, you are promoting Indian heritage. For example, Kalamkari, this technique is famous in South India, especially in Andhra and Telangana. Similarly, when Honorable Prime Minister met Sheikh Hasina long ago, when she was the Prime Minister, Jamdani sari was given, okay, gold stitched, promoted regional artisan communities. This way, the artisans and weavers who are involved in manufacturing these traditional fabrics and designs, they'll also be promoted. Okay, so it's going to positively impact their livelihood and demonstrated India's soft power outreach. Last piece of news, AI loops. So prompt engineering became very famous 2 years ago. It's still in vogue, but soon prompt engineering, the way you design and type prompt to get results from LLMs, it's also going to change, because prompts had to be carefully crafted to get desired outputs. Designing prompts to get desired outputs. People were supposed to learn prompt engineering. Okay, now we have loops engineering. Because see, if I wanted a desired output, I had to tell ChatGPT or Gemini again and again. I want, for example, a way to build a company. ChatGPT will give a response. Which type of company? This thing. Okay, please modify this approach, that approach. Now AI loop will take care of everything. You don't have to type prompts again and again. Okay, so that is also going to make prompt engineering obsolete. See how fast technology is changing. We really don't know the future. Agent loops enable iterative AI decision making. Iterative means एक बार में नहीं होता. It's a repeated task. Okay. AI plans, executes and evaluates tasks autonomously without your intervention. You just need to say कि this is a code I want to write, how to build a website for a particular company. Automatically it will get refined and you will get the refined outcome. Useful for coding, research and automation associated with emerging field of the loop engineering. So that's all about, you can say, how fast modern technology is changing, especially the AI related tools and devices. Okay. So please go through the digital current affairs, a product of Vision IS, which is very important from the point of view of current affairs enrichment. And now 6 questions will flash on your screen. Do take them. Wish you all the very best.